So Lineage Seeds, that is my seed company. I have been an organic seed farmer for 17 years. That is my trade. I'm also a production organic market farmer as well. That was the first decade of my career, starting at age 20. I'm 37 now, starting at 21. So you're 17 for me now, and it's all I know is this devotion to growing food and growing seed as an adult. Or my seed company now. So I used to sell in paper packets for years, right? And I just got really inspired through my work and through work with my teachers and specifically one day working in our seed bank, which is a 2-car garage, wall-to-wall, full of 60 years of seed production from the legendary Rich Pecoraro. And one day I'm in there packing seed as always, cleaning seed, touching seed. It starts to talk to you. And I'd never made a piece of pottery in my life, never seen a seed pot or anything. And I was touching the seed. I was like, yeah, I need to put these in something else. I'm tired of people like walking by and just seeing this cheap packet and not like giving it a second look, you know? It's like the most valuable thing that we have collectively, that we share. It's humanity. It's the foundation of it. No matter where you come from people that put seed in clay pots and kept seeds. This is something that we share all across the world. And so I just wanted to find a way for myself first to elevate, this relationship for our homes. So it's not just put in a little paper packet, which are amazing. I sell paper packets too, by the way, and I love paper packets. Nothing against paper packets. But I just wanted to find a way that we'd have seeds out in our home again, like out on display, touched, filled, passed around, an actual heirloom for the heirloom seed as well. It's also incredibly practical. The mice and bugs don't get to it. They eventually always find the paper packets, just a matter of time. They're also porous. They're earthenware, so they breathe. So kept at like just a decent room temperature. They keep the seed pretty well for decades in most cases. I'll go into which seed lasts longest and why. So it's the practicality as well as the inspiration, so that we are really keeping and honoring seed in a way that's beautiful and fun. They make a great shaker too. I'll show you. So that's my seed company. Okay, cool. Yeah, that's a good call. So I can tickle this little thing over and over. My little logo too. Everything has symbology in everything that we do. My little symbol I drew years ago, and it comes from a really complex geometric drawing I did. But the 2D form of it is a star with 6 seeds around it, and the symbology for that is the star representing time and all is before and after us for thousands of years doing this work, and then 6 seeds around it that hold the memory. And I mean that physically, not metaphysically. They're like these little microchips of data. They have the data in there of how to grow, when somehow we don't understand actually how they work, but also the history of the people involved for thousands of years, which is now us. We are the future ancestors. So that's what that little symbol. It also looks like a nice little flower or a peyote button. So getting right into it. This is us in a few 100,000 years. Everything that you see, everything that we have built, no matter how complex, no matter how amazing technologically we think it is, it will be a layer of dust. So what are we really doing with our time then here? What's really valuable? Even if it's going to be dust, like we're still here, right? Well, we are here. Maybe it's what do they say now, like a program or something? That's the new theory what's that called? A simulation. Even if it's a simulation, we're still here. It still seems pretty real. Yes, exactly. So these are questions I asked myself before I found farming. Like, who am I? Why am I here? What's valuable no matter what happens in this world? Culturally, economically, politically, what can I be a part of? What can I understand? What can I have? What can I learn? What trade can we participate in that is going to be valuable no matter what happens in our lifetime? As long as we are here, we are going to need seeds. There's no lab that's going to transcend this. There's no growing mechanism that is going to, rise above the need for seed and all these varieties anytime soon. Maybe, who knows how it goes in a couple thousand years, I don't know. But right now, in our lifetime, 100% valuable. So that's us in a few 100,000 years. But us now, this is just a really beautiful picture. I love that. Reminds me more of that story of, this is in Saudi Arabia, of what we're leaving behind, what we're building, what's valuable. I imagine this is a seed bank. It probably wasn't. But I have dreams of building a megalithic seed structure someday that you walk into and you feel the the resonance of seed, the value of it. Like when you go to a bank or a church or temple, there's a reason they build them like that. So someday I want to build a seed gallery that you walk into and it has this feeling. Oh yeah, I'm a farmer. Okay, so I've been a farmer for a long time, like I said. This is me in Ojo Caliente with some of my blue corn. And a tintype photographer came out and was like, hey, I got to take a picture. I was like, sure. So that's that picture. And I want to get a bit into the practicality, too, of this, this tangible optimism. That's also what I refer to as seeds. So tangible optimism. There's a lot of hope. We need positive things in the world right now, right? And not just like going to a class or, doing a good retreat for a weekend, but like tangible optimism. That's like literally what seeds represent. They're this thing that is going to grow and give you life in the future. So getting into farming, got me just deeper and deeper in the relationship. It started with, this is chia seed. This is from last week, just in my hand. I just took a picture when I was planting. This is one of my favorite seeds this is one of my fun breeding projects. There's no chia that really grows that well in our region, up and down the Rockies. I've grown it only 3 times, and we've gotten maybe a little ounce of seed that finished, but that's a part of adaptation. Like whatever you grow, whatever seed does finish, it has a little bit more memory of how to finish there, right? So it's never finite. It's never, it can or can't do it here. It's a long game practice, long game, generational. In fact, that's the only reason we have any of these seeds is because it's been generational. It's passed down. We can't make a new variety. When's the last new vegetable you saw pop up? Besides a new color. Of course, there's new colors. Yeah, the newest broccoli and celery are the newest vegetables, and that was like 400 years ago. So it's generational work. All the ancestors exist in the wild, right? Like they've all been selected over thousands of years, to be the cultivars. That's what that word means. A cultivar is the selected plant. But it's generational work. There's no way around it. And chia is one that I'm so excited about. I'm planting it. I just planted it last week because it's a long season one. So I got to get started early on that one. I used to drink it in my little smoothies farming. It's just a power food, but it's a long season. Beautiful seed too. Sesame, another one that I'm excited to get in in our local grows again. Staple crops are my jam. I love staple food crops, staple grains. For one, it's really good foundational food. If you do need to have the staples for living, as well as the seed tends to last for a long time. General rule of thumb for how long a seed is going to last is that soft seed, if you can break it with your nail, not that long. Flower seed, lettuce, brassicas, 5-10 years if it's stored well. But hard seed that you can't break with your nail, you're good for decades. The oldest seed ever germinated, found in a clay pot, was a date seed that was 2,000 years old, and that's growing in Israel somewhere. And unfortunately it's a dioecious species. You need a male and a female, but only one seed sprouted, so they call it the lonely male because there's no more of the seeds of that species around. Poor guy. So seeds can last for a very long time, and staple crops in particular can last for a long time. So sesame is another one I'm working on. You can get a sesame from Laura Parker of High Desert Seed. She has a sesame, and that's I'm growing that one out this year, and one that I've been working on for years with Rich Pecoraro that I still have just a tiny little bit of seed from that we'll see how it does. Farming, that's me 12 years ago at one of our farms. So this picture reminds me of several things I want to go into. So I'm actually a farm worker. I'm a farm laborer. I manage farm. I don't own any land. I don't have any way to access that in my lifetime. I chose to be a farmer, which is an amazing trade, but it's not the most lucrative thing to, get into at 19 years old. So I'm a farm laborer, which is a whole another side story, right? I'm a farmer, but most people think of farmers, oh, where's your farm? It's well, there's a story. So I rent land, I do rent land, but I managed farms for my teachers, and I studied with an incredible teacher for 10 years. This is one of his farms. There's some cool shots of irrigation in here. This is, our overhead aluminum piping. If you ever have a chance to get a whole bunch of used aluminum piping, get it. It's like so amazing for doing big fields. You really want to use all systems like drip, overhead, and flood. They all have different, techniques. All depends on what you're doing and what you have. But aluminum piping is awesome. Also, this picture reminds me, don't go weeding alone. Okay, it's not a solo sport. Okay, especially when you're looking down like a 300-foot bed in like an acre field. Okay, if you're like working on a farm or even your garden, it's not a solo sport. All right, I don't send crew out there by themselves. This is a team sport, and that's also what this picture reminds me of, because you need each other. We're going up and down those rows all day long. That's all day long, and you need each other to do it. Even in the garden, it's just much better together. You get a lot more done too. And most of these are in Colorado. So here's just some of our grow outs. I was putting this together and I just got kind of excited about a bunch of old pictures I was seeing. I was like, oh, I love that field. That was 2014. Oh, that was. So you can kind of get a feel too for like what a seed farm looks like. So we have so many varieties. This is most of our flower collection. This is like populations of maybe 20 feet of each variety of grow outs. I mean, I see my castors there, our jasmine tobaccos, a bunch of our marigolds, our zinnias, some cosmos in there. These are our carrot grow outs here, which I'll get into biennials here in a second. So this is like a little bit of example of what like a seed grow out can look at this stage in the field. Growing out seed too is amazing because you're a flower farmer. You get to be with the stage of flowering for all the plants, which is so cool. Like when you see lettuce, all of a sudden bolt. I don't like that term. It's negative. No, the plant's making seed. Save the seed. So yeah, you get to see this whole other part of the plant. It's really exciting, and you get to really participate too. You're ending the cycle with the relationship with the plant as well. You're not just eating, buying more seed, eating, buying more seed, eating, buying more seed. You're completing that loop. The real symbiotic relationship that we have with seed is in the completion of that loop. Like we're in a symbiotic relationship. We're not the domesticators of seed. If anything, you can argue they domesticated us. Lettuce ain't going extinct. Carrots, tomatoes, no. Like the plants wooed an animal, you could say, to like it. It got sweeter, it got more nutritious, whatever it was. And now we are actually in service to keeping those alive. Same with animals. So yeah, but it's symbiotic. We serve each other, the seeds and people. And that also, getting into the practice of it, it's not even about the, I don't know why they made me tear up. But you're communing with something so much bigger than yourself, and it's not even about the end result. So many people get caught up in how it's going to look at the end, but there's so much that happens in that field for you, with your friends, with your people, with who you pass it to, where it comes from. The story just goes on and on and on. And you really are also, you get reminded that you're a part of nature as well. It's weird that we even have a word for nature. We're nature, we're nature. And so the seed, when you're doing the seed work, you're really in this relationship with the seasons. The seasons aren't random all of a sudden. Like year after year, you understand the cycles more and more. Year after year, there's little like calendar things that happen. Oh, this is why this happened. Oh, this is going to happen now. It gives you a real timeline to participate in, that you're really in communion with nature too. So much of what happens with seeds, again, the long game, it's not the end result. It's so much that happens in that time communing with it. Whether it works or doesn't, it doesn't work a lot of the times, just so you know. Imagine watching an acre you planted die. It's hard, but you plant again. So it doesn't always work. Even as a professional, it doesn't always work. So I invite people to always really enjoy and be with every little phase of it, and celebrate the sprout, celebrate when it's knee high, celebrate the flower, and then great if you get a harvest, awesome. Then you celebrate the harvest, but you're not celebrating the harvest when you're planting, okay? You're just planting, very key. So some more of our fields from years ago. Legendary Rich Pecoraro, I love this shot of him. I could go on about Rich, but that's my main mentor. And Masa Seed Foundation, look up Masa Seed Foundation. Another great formerly Abundanza, and formerly before that Seeds of Change. So this is another good shot of a lettuce grow out of seed. So you can see all the little tags, all the little markers in there. Each one of those represents a different variety we were growing out. Lettuce is a great start for a home gardener too, because it's a self-pollinate, it doesn't cross. So you gotta learn your pollination vectors, how things cross. The main three are, or the only three, you have selfers, which have both male and female parts on the same flower that pretty much just cross themselves. If you touch the flowers together from different ones, then you can cross them, right? But if they have like a foot in between, they're pretty much not gonna cross. This is beans, that's all your beans, your lettuce. Tomatoes are pretty selfie for the most part. So those are the main, like beans, lettuce, and tomatoes. That's a good little like trio, and you also have a dry process and the wet process with tomato, which is different too. So selfers. So with selfers, we can grow out a lot of varieties in a year as a seed company, right? With ones that outcross, really well, ones that are wind pollinated or bug pollinated, those are there too. You have self, wind, and bug. You have to isolate. You have isolation distances. So then you have to know, you just have to look it up. There's great books on this stuff too. I got tons of information. How things cross. So then you're looking at like, why do seed companies, like me as a seed company, I grow like, the seed I sell is about 80% of still what I grew right now, but that's gonna keep dropping as I grow, hopefully. Because I just can't grow it all. For my corns, I can do one corn a year, right? Or it's gonna cross. This is like, when you're a seed company, you're also, really what I see my work as is a vehicle to get more people growing seed and support more seed farmers. The more seeds I sell, the more farmers I'm paying to grow a local seed. And then all the work that does, right? So a lot of people ask, like, oh, did you grow the seed? I'm like, well, most of it. I'm like, I don't want to grow it all. I'm not trying to grow it all. I'm also not trying to make all the pots. I made all the pots originally. Now I have 2 potters that work for me as well. So that's also a vehicle to just support local pottery production. So yeah, so a little bit of another seed field, some grow outs, a little bit into, I've only got 50 minutes, so I can't get too deep into too much techie stuff, but that's a little bit of what a seed grow out looks like. Some of our starts, just pretty. We would have like 6 greenhouses full, wall to wall of this, and some of our grows. Some marigolds, they're so nice. Flood irrigation, wanted to put that in there for fun. Yeah, this is a year where we tried the 3 sisters together in production, where we had our corn, bean, squash, and amaranth all planted together in production. So there's a reason things are in lines, all right? Lines, you guys all eat off of things growing in lines, just so you know, if you're eating from the store. Just at scale, like because we're not all growing food anymore, the farmers that do grow have to mechanize and just make it as efficient as they can for themselves, right? It's not a conspiracy or anything. And yes, lines, small scale, permaculture in the garden, all the edges, all that, yes, amazing, great. But for production, like, kind of gotta do it in lines. But one year we tried doing the 3 sisters together. We had our corn back there. These are a bunch of our amaranths. Just saying the word makes me want to talk about amaranth for just an hour. Love amaranth. So we got our corn, we got our beans and our squash planted underneath the corn back in there. And there's our sunflowers too. And it worked okay. The hard part was harvesting it all at the end, because it's all mixed in together and it's like just tedious. And then when you're trying to make a living doing this, like every hour of labor, basically, then it doesn't make any money, in the end. So there's a lot of practicality involved with it too. But companion planting is amazing on a small scale. Do it. Companion plant. Play, figure it out, grow stuff together. Nitrogen fixers with big stuff. Understand root systems. Some roots go straight down, some roots go horizontal. So you want to plant things together where they're going to different layers of the soil. You just have to look all this up. All the plants are different. Carrot flowers. A field of our carrot flowers. So carrots are a biennial. That means they take 2 years to set seed. So really fun process. Most of your root crops are biennials. Most of your beets, onions, carrots, most of the brassicas too, all the kales and cabbages, those are all biennials too. It takes 2 years. So in our seed growth, it takes 2 years to get these, 2 seasons. So you grow out the carrot, and the way they do it's really fun actually. It blew my mind the first time I saw somebody do it. So for the carrot, you do like a late summer planting, so your fall harvest of your carrots, and then you're going to actually store those over the winter for a process called vernalization. So biennials are all adapted to be cold weather crops. All the brassicas come from the northern regions. That's a survival mechanism. Like they needed food to get through winter, right? So that's why cabbage and all that stuff lasts so long. It's from northern climate peoples, needing stuff that's going to store. So carrots are one of those biennials. Store the carrot, and then in the spring, just like if you have any old carrots in your fridge, they start to grow roots on them, right, in the top, like a potato or whatever. You then plant that carrot back in the ground in the spring. You put the actual carrot in the ground and plant it. And then that next year, and we select, when we're a seed company, we select first for all the genetics. So if it's a purple dragon, which is one of our favorites, it's got to have certain shoulders, a certain tapering, a certain skin, a certain core. So there's selection to keep it all the same. You can cross stuff all you want. Crossing's fun. Do it. But you're just not going to get what it was before. So that's, it's whatever. If you don't need it to be the same, then it doesn't matter. But as we sell seeds, people expect it to be what that picture says, and it should. Because a lot of reasons for that. Storage properties, taste, color, so that only all stays the same because we're selecting out all the genes that are not that. I still love them. That becomes your food stock. So for carrot, for example, we eat all the ones that don't meet the criteria for that genetic that you're expecting, or that we're expecting, or the properties it wants. Those are food stock. And then our planting stock is all the ones that are have whatever specifications that variety is looking for. Time's probably already up. How much time I got? Oh, cool. All right. I talk fast. I hope that's okay. I want to cover a lot of stuff. Yeah, you got a question?
Why can't you just leave the carrot in the ground?
You can. So good question. So any carrot that flowers its first year, you don't want the seed from that. That it doesn't have the property of storage. You want storage for carrots. It's bolting quickly. So if your carrot seed flowers in the first year, you don't want that seed. You can use it for carrot oil or pretty flour or whatever. And you can leave them all on the ground. It depends on your climate. Really hard winter places, you can't. The ground will get too frozen, too deep. It's kind of looking at how deep's the ground freeze and for how long. Carrots are about that, right? In the Northwest, they leave them all on the ground all the time because they don't get that cold in the winter. And then they just come back in the spring and then they flower in their second year. Also, you don't get to select for genetics. So you can leave them on the ground because they'll all cross. Every carrot that was in that batch is going to cross. And if you have a really good lot that's really tight, really well selected, you can get away with that for a few years. If you just leave it in the ground, let them all cross, it's going to stay pretty much the same. But after 3 or 4 years of letting every gene cross, it's going to start to be pretty wild again and start to be a little bit more all over the place. So that's why. A couple reasons. That's what it looks like harvesting that field. So going through, let them dry, and the flowers dry. Going through the field, cutting off, all the dry seed heads. Shout out to Al, also in the Lineage for our Folks Farm seed up in Fort Collins, Colorado. He's one of my brothers in this that I worked with in the field for years that also is fully committed and has his own seed company as well now. But that's what a carrot seed harvest looks like. This is just a random seed house picture. I don't know. That's think my suitcase. I just got back in town from something. I don't remember. But that's just what it looks like in the fall. So basically, we're kind of, we pick everything in summer, fall. Some stuff's ready in the spring for seeds, and then you kind of just let it sit, all the dry stuff in a bucket because you're busy, right? You cut it, get it in a bucket, put a top on it. Don't look at it again until you got time in the fall. So it's kind of in the fall where we're processing everything. A lot of the beans. There's a couple buckets of rotty tomatoes in there. You got to ferment tomatoes at scale. If you're doing it at home, you can just scoop out the seed and let them dry. It's fine. But at scale, you really want to harvest the tomatoes when they're 10%. All right, this is any wet process. This is tomatoes, melons, cucumbers, squashes, any of that. The general rule for getting the seed off that stuff, you want to harvest it for seed when it's 10% past what you would eat. So when it's over ripening, because you're ripening the seed. When you're eating it, it's at peak eating, but the seed hasn't finished yet, right? And for fruits, just think about it. If you were going to replicate the natural cycles in nature, it would rot, fall and rot. And there's a reason. That fermentation kills any disease that can be on it. It also breaks down a lot of the seed from the flesh, breaks it off. So basically when we're doing any wet processing of any of those fruits, we ferment them all first. and then just make a nasty mash, and then you have a whole pouring process to separate based on weight. So this is wet processing. I have great books that go into detail. You have dry and wet processing. All your seeds are going to be one or the other. Dry process for all your dry stuff, flower seed, anything on a pod, dry, or wet process, which is any of your fruits. The basic breakdown for dry process is you're going to cut it off, the stalk, whatever it's on. Whenever it's dry, you just look at it when it's dry, when it's done, no green on the stem. I've made that mistake a lot of times when I was a rookie. Harvesting seed, we grew for 2 years, my first carrot seed crop I ever did. I was so excited to harvest it. It'd been 2 years of me growing this, and I picked it premature. The seed was no good. It was green still. So there's a lot of lessons, a lot of long game lessons in this work that are very valuable for a lot of things in life. And then the corn sitting on there, I don't really recommend having your corn out like that in a barn, just so you know. I think we lost, the mice probably got their fair share that year. But yeah, so you want to hang corn. Mice are going to get everything. You have to be on rodents with all of this stuff always. And let's see if this will come back. Oh, good. I'll talk about dry and wet processing a little more. Any questions exactly on dry and wet processing?
I'm not sure if it's on that, but gotta get up to the mic. I have a carrot plant that went through the winter, got planted in the fall, thought they would be fine for spring, but it put out flowers. Mm-hmm. Is that seed viable?
You planted the carrot when?
Kind of like September of the fall.
So it went through vernalization, yeah. So I mean, you didn't get to see the product, the carrot really, to see what stage or how much it was going to grow. But no, that went through the winter cycle that carrots want to go through. So yeah, so that's seeds. The seed, just to be clear, the seed that flowers in the first year is still viable. Yeah. It's just not great genes.
Okay. So the other thing is that quite often when I've tried to save carrot seed, I've gotten, instead of an orange root, I got a white root that had no flavor. And does that happen a lot?
Yeah, you'll get genetic variants. Like I said, it depends on, everything's going to have, just like you can have a random redhead kid pop up, right? Don't know how. You might be looking at the mailman a little different or something, but it can happen. So that, our genes, we all have a lot of different genes in us that come up, surprisingly, which is beautiful too, because it allows us to then select from that. Maybe that white carrot gene has some kind of gene that's useful in the future. So there's a way to really kind of get back.
Maybe animal feed or something.
Yeah, of course animal feed.
Well, they tasted like nothing. I mean, it was just tasted like a root.
Yeah, the things are sweet because they've been selected to be sweet.
Yeah.
The wild stuff isn't sweet. There's not sugary stuff like that in nature. It's only we selected for sugar content.
So most of what you're showing, those are all seed farms.
Yeah, those were all seed production. Yeah, all those were seed production. Some food in there. We did food too, but yeah, those were all pictures so far of seed production. Yep.
All right, should I use the mic?
Yeah, because they're recording it. It's going out there, Nick. Yeah.
Thank you, Jared. It's good to see you.
Glad good to see you too, Nick.
Sharing all too. Boy, I remember that. All those years ago, you gave our good friend Bob that pink corn,
Yep.
Boy, that was amazing corn too. And it just so happens, some other friends of ours, they want us to help grow out some seeds, some of that Oaxacan green and the pink. And we really like growing that Chihuahua blue. And so, we heard lore, that you can maybe do these staggerings about corn, how you plant it in staggering. Mm-hmm. And but here before in the talk, you expressed that you only plant one corn a year yourself, So maybe you could elaborate on those
Good
things
question.
for us and kind of help us understand a little better.
Yeah. No, it's a great question. No, going into corn isolations. So there's some tricks that you can do. So with corn, like we said, it's a wind pollinator, and that pollen can travel up to a mile, right? But there's some tricks that you can do. So I learned from Rich hedgerows. So I've seen Rich grow 3 corns on 1 acre. I've seen him grow 3 corns on 1 acre. And what he did, and they had pretty good result. They didn't cost that much. But what he did was he had big, tall hedgerows in between each variety. So like grow a big, tall Tarahumara sunflower or some of your tall amaranths, whatever the tallest plants that you have are, they're going to be like a little bit taller than the corn, ideally. And so that's the first thing. And then also, you're always going to plant corn in a grouping, in like a block, because it likes to pollinate it doesn't, never grow, even in a garden, don't grow it in one straight line. It's not going to pollinate that well, because if you can picture the wind blowing it off, it's going to blow it all off onto nothing, right? So corn likes to be in a little community, you know. So in that big block of corn, in the corn that you do, the outside of the corn will have a little bit of crossing, because it's the first one to catch it. But then the inside is going to be like pretty primo. Yeah. And I just saw, Rich, we were talking about this like just last year. He, for the first time, did like 3 corns, and he just wanted to do it. He needed stock for his tortillas. And so, yeah. Okay. Yeah. So as far as staggering, yeah, he planted all those pretty much the same day. You can, I think you can stagger though too. Yes, you can stagger. You just have to know that corn and how long it is. But I imagine, like, if you have a long enough season where you can, you know, up in the Front Range, you have a long enough season up there that, yeah, you could still stagger, even if it's still a 100-day corn or 110-day corn, you can stagger a week or two, probably not more than 2 weeks, and then maybe, yeah, and then get, like, the pollen will be. So they're asking that because then, like, it'll flower at different stages in theory, and then the pollen from one variety will only be happening and spreading, and then it'll be done, because it only spreads pollen for about a week. And then when that one's done, then the next one will be on pollinating itself, and then the next one will be on pollinating itself. The thing is with that, though, is the plants are smart. They like know the day length, so they all, even though you planted one sooner, one later, they still might flower at the same time because they have the internal clock going on. Yeah, great question. Yeah, they're not going to come up. Okay, cool. We got 15 minutes. Well, that's great. No, I wanted to have most of it for questions anyway. What are some of the last points? So, driver's web processing, isolation distances, germ tests. I wanted to go over that. So if you ever want to know seed viability, just sprout it in a paper towel. Just wet your paper towel, sprinkle the seed on there. You can count them if you're really techie, or if you just little seed like amaranth, I just sprinkle when you get an idea. And you just sprout it in there. And that's how you know. And we do that every year for all of our seed. So even though some seed I have is still, I'm selling some seed from, most of my seed I grew in the years 18 to 20. That's when I did my biggest, I had the fields and I had the income at the time to grow big fields, knowing that I was going to go full-time into my seed work. So I bulked up. And so now I'm still mostly selling seed from 18 to 20. All still good. Like I said, seed lasts for decades. And we're still doing grow outs and we're contracting growers. But if you ever want to know how good if a seed's good or not, yeah, just do a little germ test on it. And if the seed isn't like testing great, it doesn't matter. There's some tricks that you can do to get the germ to come back up. We call it cutting the seed. Okay, so winnowing and threshing. These are the 2 steps for your dry processing of seed. You're going to winnow it, you're going to thresh it, you're going to dry it. For lettuce, carrots, beans, it's got to be really dry, right? The drier the better because the seed comes off a lot easier. If it's still a little bit wet, it's going to hang on the pod a bit more. So you dry it, right? And then you're going to thresh it. Thresh it is the process of breaking the seed off of whatever it's on. You're going to thresh it. And we do this lots of ways. And if we have big populations and stuff, we dance on it. We just put on a big tarp, put on some music, and you're just doing this for hours, crushing it all up. You're not going to hurt the seed. It's tough. Or you can just beat it in a bin. Sometimes we'll put it in a bag and just hit it with a stick. So you can, or with corn, you can also just get it off the cob with your hand. So that's threshing. Whatever like method you're using to get it off of whatever it's in, that's threshing. And then you have winnowing and screening. So then after you thresh it, you're going to have a big old mix of the stick, the leaf, the chaff, all the stuff in with the seed, right? And this is a beautiful process of separating through weight and size. So the way that you separate through size is screening, right? The seed I can fall down and heavy stuff will stay on top, toss it off, screen another batch. Or you can do the opposite where the seed stays on top and stuff falls through. And you do that back and forth. You never get it in one go. It's many, many times of going back and forth in different screen sizes. And then winnowing. So when everything is the same size, how could you separate the seed? You can't screen it. So you use weight. So then weight, you use the wind. So this is like traditional seed. It's tossing up in the air. It's because the wind is going to blow lighter stuff away. So, and it also blows lighter seed away. That's not good. We now use a fan, which I got pictures of. It's a super simple setup. But you just you get your bucket of seed, you got your box fan, and you got a couple bins underneath. You always want 2 bins in case you miss. You don't want all your seed to blow, especially small seed. You've picked up a lot of seed in the dirt. That's no fun. So you got your box fan. You're just dumping your bucket over the fan, and then as it passes over the wind, it's gonna separate everything by size. And so then it gets really techy. You really you're cutting the seed at the edge of that bin. We usually put a little metal, a piece of metal, sheet metal or something there to really give a nice edge. And you're really working with this layer of centimeters. It's not that much light. Some of it's, all the light stuff will just blow off in the wind, right? But when you're really cutting in to get good high germ seed, you're up here moving that much, or this much back or this much forward, to cut the seed is what we call it. So that's another way that you can get your seed back. If it's a low germ, cut it, and then you can get a bunch of that light seed off, and that usually raises the germ. Yeah.
As far as a business model goes, for someone who is interested in getting into seed production, would you recommend specializing in something like carrots, or would you recommend starting out a little bit deeper and trying various things to see what works better for you?
Great question. Yeah, not all seeds the same as far as what you get paid for and what's worth it for growing. This is one of my favorite questions because it's not something that's been put into writing and paper and stuff very, very well yet. Best crops so carrots you get a good price for, wholesale market you'll get, first off I suggest doing retail. Wholesale, don't even think about wholesale honestly, because you have to grow I don't sell wholesale. There's a few crops maybe I'll sell wholesale in, but you got to grow a lot of seed to do wholesale. So you're looking at doing packets, or whatever way you want to sell seed in. There's a lot of room for innovation in the seed industry, to be honest with you. It's an industry that really hasn't been had that much innovation involved in the marketing side of it and the end part and the packaging side of it, right? And the story. So whatever you're going to sell the seed in, sell retail. You get way better. As far as the actual crops, carrots are great. You get a good yield per square foot on carrot. And you'll get, a good pound. You get a good $1 per pound if you're selling wholesale, but retail is all the same price. Retail, we basically sell everything for the same price because our margins are in the packaging and the selling of it, even for paper packets, right? But for carrots are great. They're just a biennial. It's 2 years, so you got to be in. It's a longer game. Flowers. Everybody wants to plant flowers. Flowers are the thing that you're gonna, and they're also easy. Getting lots of flower seed per square foot is great. All your zinnias, your marigolds, your cosmos, amaranths, flowers. And also lettuce, because people will tend to plant lettuce multiple times a year. So they're going to buy it multiple times a year. Or any of the greens. Basically, just think of the stuff that people use the most around you and go for those crops. As far as you don't really need to understand in pricing what seed goes for more unless you're at a big scale, unless you're at a wholesale scale. So, was that helpful? Okay. Yep.
So along packaging, are you going to talk about your pots?
Yeah, I'll talk about pots. I love talking about pots. I can carry. All good. I can. Oh man, you guys are so useful. Where'd you come from? Thank you. Poland. Yeah, Poland. Oh, right on. A long trip. Yeah. So my seed pots. So I'm also working on the home seed bank. So I'm going to build something for you guys that's going to hold your seed like a piece of furniture you're going to have forever going to pass down. Something you don't just you can, I love boxes. All my seeds are in boxes or bins. But I just want to bring a piece of furniture to our homes that holds the seed. So this is just I've made 10 of these. This is my prototypes for it. And it's better with 2 hands and it's a prototype. Hang on. So that's how it comes up. Blocks. Yeah. Seed packets go right in here. Right? This little drawer right here. One of our little messages. Oh, yeah. one of our little messages here with your seed packet drawer. May the seeds be a reminder of all that you come from and have yet to become. Right? That's what they like. That's what I feel them. Like, I come from so much. Life's hard. You know, like we all come from a lot, and that's all in us. And yet we still have all of this flowering to do. So that's what the little seeds remind me of. Yep. Well, we hand make all of them on a wheel, and then we pit fire them all. So I pit fire everything still, and 2 days firing, and all the colors are distinct from how they fit in the fire. We try a bunch of different materials. We do all kinds of stuff, and they also make a little shaker. You can tune them based on the seed. This is a popcorn seed that has one of the best sounds, I think. It's actually been tuned and used on stage by Gregorian Isakov. He's a musician friend of mine, buddy of mine, who also grows my blue corn. I've taught him how to grow corn, and he's on the scroll. The scroll. So, and on the inside with your seed, you get a scroll that says, there's a scroll in here, says the name of the seed, where we grew it, days to maturity, and then the known lineage of people that had it before you get it. As best I can track, it's a lot of the years, like thousands. So it just starts with many generations. So. And then anybody that wants to grow seed at scale for us, grow it at scale, we give the seed, grow it out, we buy it from you, and your name's on the scroll, and we're building a whole system of local seed production again. So that's a little bit more about Lineage. And I'll be doing my booth all day this afternoon and tomorrow too, so y'all can come by and see everything. I've got like 70 varieties. No, all good. Yeah, any other questions? Yeah.
Can you talk about your books on display there, and especially that big tome?
Yeah, I know. I love that thing. I should sell those. Yeah, that's the books you should have. Number one, still nobody's done anything better. Susan Ashworth's Seed to Seed. Okay, wrote it in like I think the early '90s or late '80s, and it's still the best out there for garden seed saving. It goes over everything, all your genetic, all your taxonomy, all your pollination vectors, isolations, how to do everything. Seed to seed. If you're at a production scale, there's nothing better than John Navasio's Organic Seed Grower. Amazing. His pictures are amazing. His biennial stuff's incredible. It's a signed copy, actually. I've got Vavilov's Origin and Geography of Cultivated Plants. So Nikolai Vavilov, if you don't know about Nikolai Vavilov, he's one of the people that did the most amazing. He's a Russian guy, early 1900s. He's one of the ones that put together, or the one that put together the first understanding of like where all the seeds come from. So just origin of species. I go over a lot of origin and heritage stuff for people. I do a lot of work on connecting people to their own ancestry through their own seed genetics. If they don't really know how to connect with plants or aren't there yet or just are connecting with plants already and they want to know more, you tell me where you're from in the world genetically and I'll tell you what plants are also from there. So it's a cool way to connect. And then we got Breed Your Own Vegetables from Carol Deppy. Yeah, legends, also autographed. And then I don't know why I got this is in my pile, Johnny's. Johnny's is great, by the way. Rob Johnson, great company. I'd love to go into more about actual seed companies out there. And that's just my notebook. I just write notes in there. Yeah. 5 minutes? Okay, cool. Any questions? Yeah. By the way, that's my lineage, my heritage, Abundanza. Shout out to Abundanza Seeds Produce. That's where I spent 10 years behind that booth selling food and growing seeds. So that's just in there for context for a seed booth and an incredible market farm. And if you ever saw Abundanza back in the day, you know there's never been anything like it again. It's Rich Pecoraro, Masa Seed Foundation. Okay, look them up.
So you mentioned there's a fermentation process with the wet seeds, and I was just wondering what that looks like. Is there a specific kind of ferment culture you're looking for, or a certain stage of fermentation, or
yep, there is. Yeah,
like?
No culture really. We're pretty low tech when it comes to that stuff. We just smell it. When there's like a little layer of a white mold on top, it's about ready. Depends on how hot it is and which one it is, but it's usually only like a couple days, like 2 days, and you'll see like a white film foaming on top, and you mix it. And I've got a picture actually. That's just threshing some amaranth real quick. That's part of the threshing process I'm talking about. All kinds of ways to thresh. We had a lot. We were just doing it on a big screen real quick. It's really cold out. Winter work is see the snow. Winter work is seed work, seed cleaning. Drying melons, throwing a watermelon. That's chia. That's why I put that in there. That's one of the years I got chia. Sweet Dakota Rose, watermelon. Amazing watermelon company at the booth. I'll tell you more about it. It's one of my favorites. That's what like winnowing seed looks like. Dropping it. You don't have to have the cool table we have. You can just do it with a bucket. Yeah, that's winnowing. That's what it looks like when you're really into it with small seed. I mean, you're really cutting the seed. There's like a decent picture of what I'm talking about, the separation. So as he moves that a little closer, he's going to separate any of that like seed that's like a little lighter. And this is like at the finish. This is almost done. That's probably his last pour, honestly. But that's what you're talking about. You're cutting the seed at the edge of the bin there. This is the wet process for chilies. This is one of the ways to do it. Spraying it all through a screen. Seed's going to go through, get the other stuff off top. And I got 1 minute. We'll do these. That's pouring it out. All the seed in the wet process for tomatoes or any of that stuff. The seed's going to sink to the bottom. It's so cool. The seed sinks to the bottom, the good seed. If it's light seed, you don't need it. It's floating. It's no good. If it's light, it flies for a reason. We say when you're winnowing. If it's blowing for a reason too far. And light seed that floats, you don't want it. It's not good. No germ. So then you pour out all the water. Then you do like this magical reveal of all these seeds. Or if they're not there, you're always wondering, like, are they there? Like, did I mess this up? But yeah, they're there. Then you put more water in, more stuff flows, more seed sinks, let it sink over and over and over, like probably 3 or 4 times. Screening, steckling, planting. Little trick is to cut all the tips, stimulates growth before you plant the carrot. I don't know what we were doing. There's some bad selections. These are no bueno. So I don't know who did that, but I took the picture. And carrot seed drying, harvesting a massive load of carrots with Richie. Red Core Chantenay, amazing carrot. I've got that carrot if y'all want it today. Happy crew after long season carrot harvest. Crew, this is not a solo sport farming, you guys. Like, you need each other all year. You get so close too. Shout out to this Abo crew from 2015. I used to just sling produce everywhere. This was like our leftovers we didn't sell. I just sell at a coffee shop for free. I just take what you need, leave what you can. Gourd, harvest, cool picture. Oh, me leaving my seed bank. I worked for seeds for a year because we had no money. Rich couldn't pay us, so I lived in a tent and worked for seeds. That's me leaving the seed bank with part of my collection years ago. Seeds, amaranths, more seeds, flowers. Oh, there's the seed bank. One of them years ago. That's like 15 years ago. There's my first seed pots I ever made. That's I had like a Greek. That's like 12 years ago. I had a Greek style inspiration in my head with hips and necks and stuff. And there's what we do now. And that's the website as of now. 30 new varieties with a scroll. Just took that picture like 2 weeks ago. That's a Migdio Balone, Stuca Seed Bank. Shout out. I don't know how you made it here. This was like a few days ago. You just came by to say hi. I also work with a lot of the pueblos down in New Mexico, and there's a lot of collaborating and working together. He's one of my mentors as well. Chia seed. And back to the dirt. So, yeah. Thanks, everybody.